Let's go, girls. Welcome to Talk Wealthy to Me. I'm Michelle Taylor, founder of Women in Wealth. From breaking money myths to building wealth and achieving financial freedom, we're here to empower you to create your own path. Talk Wealthy. Now, join the conversation and let's change the way women think and feel about money. Okay, ready? You guys, please help me in welcoming somebody who I absolutely adore. Ansley, thank you for being here.
This is so fun. I'm so excited.
So I have the privilege of calling you a friend, but a lot of people know you around town because you are just living your best life. You are a walking ray of sunshine.
Oh, thank you.
And I think everyone's better for knowing you. So tell us about you.
Kind. Oh, goodness. About me. Wow. Well, I think my most passionate, like why I'm on the earth is around the subject of creativity and creation and discovery and wonder and awe and delight and play and all of the things that somehow is in every cell of my being. And so that's kind of like a core principle or a core identity of who I am. How that plays out has been many different things throughout my life. And I think that's always true, that we're free to like have those expressions like take shape in different ways. Right now, that expression is jewelry design. So I take people's heirlooms, transform them into something they want to wear. And so it's got that like whole meaning portion of it, which kind of keeps me going. And then the like magic of personal style and expression. So my jewelry company is called Dora Mae Jewelry, and we kind of combine that meaning and style magic. That's kind of what we're known for.
I love it so much because you take something truly that has no more life in it effectively.
Yes.
And it's the styles change, but there's beautiful pieces that were once such a point of joy and pride for somebody that typically meant something to us.
Yes.
They're, the female relationships in our lives that pass jewelry on and that aren't wearing anything. And you get to recreate something and give it a second chapter. And I am so excited. I haven't come in yet. I've talked to my mom about it because she has things that and it's just so lovely.
It is so fun. It's truly like mother, granddaughter, there's all the generations can participate and like seeing families come together. Even my own family, we've started doing it this year, which is like super fun. My grandmother, whose name is Dora Mae, she's who I named my company after. It's her creativity that I'm honoring with this company. But then what's so cool is that my mom then decided she wanted to give some things to her granddaughters this year. So I'm kind of seeing that second wave and watching my daughters and nieces be the recipient of something so special. And just as a mom, we see our kids consuming all of these things that end up being meaningless. But when my mom gave them pieces of her life, those are already their most treasured items. And so it's like they love them. It brings so much joy and so much connection over those pieces that it's just like jewelry can be just like a thing that is pretty and sparkly. And I'm all for sparkle for no reason. No reason. Sparkle's great. But like purposeful, meaningful sparkle is like infinitely better.
It is. It's so true. And what I also love is there's a lot of whimsy to what you do. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be, because you do a lot in the fine jewelry space and it's lovely and beautiful investment pieces. But then you have
fun
and you can create jewelry using pieces that you find at an antique store in Paris. Totally. Like when you were there with your daughter and you're sourcing these pieces and then you're taking them apart and making something new. I love that. So
all the different ways.
Yeah, it's wild. So when you were the 10-year-old version of yourself, did you always love jewelry? Did you love the idea of being an entrepreneur? How did you land on Dora Mae?
10-year-old Ansley was very passionate about personal expression. I had never thought
Can we put some pictures in the show notes?
Well, what I love about my younger self is that there was a lot of limitations, a lot of boundaries, but I wanted to push them. And I can still remember, I had a challenge for myself when I was in the 6th grade. So that would have made me 12. But I wanted to not wear the same outfit for one day of the school year. But I didn't have 365 outfits. I had, 15 like everyone else. But I wanted to figure out how to combine them in different ways, add a piece of flair that made it look different.
That's so cool.
I just was that was somehow my 12-year-old self. So nobody told me to do that. You know what I'm saying? That was just inside of me. I just wanted to find different ways to communicate who I really was through my clothing. I also went to a Baptist Christian school. So I had a lot of dress code.
I was going to say,
I had a lot of dress code violations. I was constantly in the office for not, following the rules. And I tried to, because honestly, I knew that was part of where I was and I needed to obey the rules. So how was I going to do that? So I did it some days better than other days. But yeah, that's kind of who I was. And I feel that version of my true self kind of being displayed on the outside kind of has carried through. And so jewelry, I didn't even know about jewelry or even consider being a jewelry designer until my grandmother's old pieces came into the picture. And so that's when I started thinking, let's take those and make them something new. These aren't being worn by anyone in my family. So let's figure it out. So I literally took them up to a bead store and was I want to add turquoise to this and red to this. And by my 30th piece, the lady was can I teach you how to do this?
Please.
That is literally how my whole world with jewelry started. And that wasn't until I think I was 21, 22.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how old were you when you opened the shop?
Let's see. It's been 15 years or almost 16 years. So
wow.
Yeah, 2008.
So now it's kind of an institution in Orlando. Everybody knows where it is. There's flowers and, again, whimsy and pink, and it's just so happiness. Good. Yes, but you've made quite a name for yourself, and now I feel I can spot a piece of yours when someone's wearing it immediately. And what a legacy.
That's cool.
And now your daughter, she works with you.
She does. She helps me. It's great.
It's awesome.
She was never into fashion or, teenagers change. She's almost 18. So up until 3 years ago, she wasn't interested in fashion or jewelry or any of it. And then slowly to watch her evolve into a young woman and be into it. It's very fun.
And your staff is women.
Yes.
So you're a small little fun sorority family in there.
We are a family. It is a very close, small studio. So we are rubbing elbows all day long. And it's wonderful. I love it. And being a part of our team is to be a member of the family because you have to.
Yeah.
With such close quarters and, it's great.
So you fell into entrepreneurship.
I did. I do think it was probably always somewhere in my DNA, but there was a lot to overcome to get there. So I do think, because before that I designed gardens and landscapes I started that in 2004. So when my babies were first born. So there was something about me even before I knew about gardens and landscapes. I thought, I'll learn about it and then I'll start a business. Even though I had no business thinking I could, So I think somewhere in there is just deep down was a belief that I could do it.
So many of the best stories of business success come from
having no clue.
Figuring it out.
Yeah.
And I love that. And so you had that business, you shifted, and for a while, wasn't Dora Mae kind of just a hobby?
Yes.
And then you had big life changes and then kind of poured your heart and soul into, let me focus on this and build it truly as my source of income.
Yes.
And now you've evolved.
Thanks to you, Michelle. Seriously, though.
And now you've gotten to evolve and you've got fine jewelry in there. You didn't always have that. And you just have the best husband and family, and you're just
support
building.
System.
So the support system. And I feel like you've got a lot of really great women around you. You've got a tribe. And we're so lucky when you can build a tribe like that, because you can't fail. You can't.
It's so true. And then even when you do, you have each other to like remember that it's not, that failure isn't the worst thing.
You'll figure it out. Exactly. Well, okay. So you had to overcome a lot. For the listeners that may be thinking like, I want to start a business, or I've got this thing that is a hobby that I want to really now commit. Where do they start? What are some valuable lessons that you learned as being a business owner, but also just managing the finances from a different angle than you once had to, that could give somebody a shortcut?
Yeah. I think whenever anybody asks me about, I want to bring something new into the world, like what do I do? What do I do first? My answer has started becoming, because I realize it's literally for every single person, is find out who you truly are. And I know it sounds so generic and cliche, but things are cliche for a reason.
That's right.
I think what I've realized is that a lot of times what creates failure in entrepreneurship is your fake self creating something because of culture, or because of family, or because of pressure, some outside influence that you belong to more than you belong to yourself. So figuring out, who am I really? What is it that I actually want to create? And I think don't create until you figured that out, right? And so I've been pouring a lot of time into helping or into writing out, basically, like, okay, what does that process of like coming into your true self and allowing like what's truly on the inside to be expressed on the outside. And it's so worth the investment of figuring that out. And honestly, that process is a lot about unlearning what isn't you and then putting back into its place what is you, and then creating from that place. Then that passion isn't going to go away. It wasn't just this like momentary thing. Oh, I should do this because I need extra money, or oh, this is a convenient thing that build the foundation of who you really are. And then like I feel like I could design jewelry for the rest of my life. Like I love it. I don't know if I will, but I just know that I have such a passion for it because of the way that I've built my business. Is not just about a thing. Because for me, I call them pure you principles. One of my pure you principles is connection and oneness and intimacy and being known and, for who you really are. And so a lot of my business is built around genuine connection. And so we can like even take this into financial things. The way I make money is because of my genuine connections. Now, that's not to say I use relationships to make money.
No.
It's the opposite. I have the connection. I understand what someone's wanting. Anything that I create out of connection is financially
beneficial.
Yes, because we've talked about it, but all money is value creation. And so when you create value for someone, you get paid in money. So it works out really great when that thing comes from your true soul.
So what the version of yourself that you were, what is like the one thing that girl was that you're like, oh, I've left that behind?
Well, how deep do you want to go?
I know, it's a loaded question.
Okay, well, I do think that there was a part of me, and we can revisit like the church life and religious life, because it was a deeply patriarchal system. And I think probably a lot of women relate to this. Because it's not just religion, it's also culture, and it's also family, and it's, you know, it's all the places that can come in from. And I think, like, when I used to think of wealth when I was younger, it would be like marry rich.
Which so many of.
Right, because the men were the ones who made the money and the women were the ones who like cared for children.
It's wild. I was somewhere, and I want to be careful telling the story because I don't want, but I was somewhere and I heard a woman that I know and like and respect say, talking about her daughter and saying, I tell her all the time, you're not going to go far unless you marry rich. Like, really, you need to marry. And I thought, oh my God, please. Don't say anything. Don't say anything. But it's wild. It's still so ingrained in
totally
just marrying well instead of, you know, like what real
becoming who you really are, adding value to the world and getting paid for it. Like, why isn't every human doing that, women or men? I just didn't know that. And so I thought my value, like I think who I was just limited to this one version of myself, which was being a mother, which is beautiful. And honestly, that's still, and I know you feel this, the most important thing for me. Yeah. And like the most value I bring to the world is being their mother. I still believe that, but that doesn't mean it has to be the only value. And in fact, I know that it isn't. And so being able to model for my children, model for my daughter, as she's about to go to college, I'm like, find out what it is. What value do you want to bring to the world that is aligned with your genuine gifts and your truest, who you really are? That's going to return.
Provide abundance.
Yes. And not in just money and joy and connection and and vitality. And, you know, there's so much more than just the number in your bank account, clearly.
Yeah. And for you, so in your prior life, and obviously we've known each other for a long time, but going through a divorce and recreating this life for you, I remember when that first was happening, and now to see how far you've come. Yeah. Did you feel like you had to relearn a lot when it came to your financials, or?
I didn't have to relearn. I just had to learn. I didn't know anything. And to be fair, in my first marriage, he was a CPA. So he had all of that. And I could say that's an excuse, but truly I was afraid of it because it was such an unknown to me.
Well, and you're a creative.
And I'm a creative. And so people put you in a box like, oh, and so I just kept myself in the box, you know, like, oh, well, you're not organized or you're not. So then it was just so easy to be like, okay, you do it. But the things that you avoid, that's what brings the most fear into your life. So one of the things I was the most scared about was running my own company, the finances of my own company. But I do remember that shift of, well, I'm very visual, clearly. And so I personify everything. So I had to do some like deep work around who money was in my life. And this is going to sound crazy, but I'm a big like proponent of personify money, like put a face to it, because it is an energy. So it's good to like be able to visualize it. And my money was the devil in a green suit, because I was taught that basically, you know, the root of all evil is money. Right. And so it was a necessary evil. Money was a necessary evil. And that was the picture of that was the devil. And so I would picture my meetings with this devil. Like I I didn't want to look at him. It was just a necessary evil that I had to deal with because I was a business owner. And so, that's such an unhealthy relationship with something you have to deal with every day as a business owner. Like, who wants to meet with the devil?
That's
nobody. So I would like make my meetings very short and like very avoidant and like, I'm scared of you and I don't want to deal with it. And so I had to re-personify money. And we laugh about this all the time. But once I realized like, well, first of all, my dog Buster showed me what money was for the first time. And that's like right before I'm about to go on a walk with Buster, and you start like putting on your shoes and your dog knows what you're going to do. It's like, it's walk time. And so we start like doing the dance and like, Mom, I'm so excited. I saw Buster one day. I'm like, you're money. Like money is this tool like that is so excited and so anticipating my dreams and like helping me as soon as it sees me putting on my shoes. It's like, where are we going today? And like, how can I help you? And I'm coming along and I'm doing it excited. But then Buster transformed into Katy Perry. In her rainbow music video, I forgot now which one it is, but like basically she's got candy and whatever. So now money is like, it is just this joyful, colorful expression of like exuberance. Like it just wants to help. It just, what are you meant to do on this earth, Ansley? And like, how can I help? And let's go and let's do it like super colorful and excited.
Well, we have the pleasure of working together on your personals. And I love so much that is how you envision it now, because you have a really healthy, great relationship with money. I think that you have taken such extreme ownership of it. And now to see how you and your husband approach it as a team and together is just how I wish it was for everybody, because there's such a good, ping pong back and asking the good questions, and that's what it's supposed to be like. Right. But I love that, because I don't think we talk about the baggage that you bring with your older self when it comes to money. And I've never heard anybody say to really personify it, but that may be a great exercise to make it not real. Scary.
Yes.
Because I sit down with people and I can't tell you how many times they say, I'm scared to have this conversation. Yes. Or I don't check my account all the time because I don't even want to look, or I don't want to look at my credit cards. And I try and tell people, the people that are the most successful look at those things all the time. And it's just because if you are afraid of something that gives it power, you've got to understand that you need to have the power with money and understand it is simply a tool. And if your tool is out of whack, then you just need to make an adjustment and go into the toolbox and pick something else. But you have to understand what it's doing, because then you can change the course of what's happening. And when you have a full toolbox, man, all of the things that it can do for you.
It's incredible.
It's incredible. And it doesn't have, and that's what I always try and talk about too, is it doesn't have to be this thing. There's not this version of success that we all need to aspire to. It's beautiful because you can create whatever that looks like. And all of us need money to get there. And everybody's version can be different. Totally. But it's very black and white on what the mistakes are and what the good things are with money.
Avoidance is the biggest mistake.
Avoidance is terrible.
The best place to live is reality.
and to put your money to work for you. I know I say this all the time.
It's real.
But it bears repeating. Women tend to leave their money in cash, and it just sits there, and they don't give it a purpose, or don't say, hey, this year I want to make sure I invest $10,000, or I get my savings account to $20,000, or maybe $1,000. I mean, I don't remember the exact statistic, but how many people in this country it don't have an emergency account with $1,000? That should be the first goal for anybody. And it's just because it buys you comfort.
You're not in panic mode.
Emergencies aren't so scary when you're prepared, like if the washing machine breaks, it's not the end of the world because you've prepared for it. And it's really getting rid of the little green
Devil.
suited devil and realizing that money can be exciting and fun when you realize that it works for you. You're not working for it.
Befriend it. I actually think that that's what part of like personifying it did for me. It like made me be able to like lean in and befriend it in its truest form, you know, like let's do this together. Like you said, it's a tool, it's an energy, it's a currency, and I want to flow with it. Like I want to flow together with money. Let's do this.
Yeah.
And so I think befriending it for me was like one of the biggest hurdles I had to overcome. So that was big.
Do you feel like you always had a healthy relationship with money?
No, not at all. It was definitely avoidant and definitely lacked confidence, which is wild. Like, why did I lack confidence in that area? But I think it was, again, just like I wasn't supposed to know about that. So I think I just kind of let other people own it for me. So yeah, I think part of divorce or any kind of death in life where you're having to kind of rebuild and do something new, it was like, okay, now's my chance to approach this in a different way. So like if ever is a time to like own this, because I could have chosen the same, right? Like every time it's a choice. So I was like, no. And honestly, I wouldn't have been able to do it without support. So like in the money, just meeting with you and just having you in my corner, honestly, it's just – and that is one way of investing in myself is just to get support. And do I deserve support? And I think like if I could say like I had my biggest mistake, it would be not thinking I was valuable enough to invest in, like in a financial way. Like I invested in myself. You know, I went to therapy or I invest in myself, but never in like a financial way. So one of my big shifts was like start making decisions, like get a financial advisor, not just somebody who will, crunch some numbers for you, but someone you have a relationship with that can walk you through not just your numbers, but like your whole approach to money.
And understands the big picture.
Yes.
Well, and so many times people will say, well, I don't think I'm ready. Or I've outgrown who I've used and now I know I need someone that's a little bit more complex and I don't know when that time is. And especially in this
world
time that we're in right now, in this world, there's so much access out there. Find the resources for anybody that are accessible to you and start yesterday.
Yeah.
Because an investment into your financial health is
priceless. Actually priceless.
Even if it's buying a course, finding an advisor, finding the right relationship, making sure that you understand what that relationship will look like, what the expectations are, and then having an accountability partner. And I think that that's where, when you mention the relationship, even just to bounce ideas off of someone and say, hey, I'm hearing this. What do you think about this? How much money should I have in cash? How many people out there will say, oh, well, the magic number is 6 months. Well, that's not necessarily true. Totally. If you're not a business owner and you and your husband or you and your partner or whomever both have W-2 jobs, the odds of both of you losing a job at the same time and needing 6 months, Why don't.
Would you stockpile all that
if
cash?
Somebody's a business owner and then the spouse is stay at home, maybe you have 6 months. But there's nothing that is cookie cutter. And if you feel like you're in a situation where it is cookie cutter, then you've outgrown that relationship.
Yes.
Invest in it.
Expand yourself.
Find the accountability partner. So going back to you and working with Haven, your daughter, I love that. Have you guys ever had money conversations? Do you feel like she's in a better spot than you were as far as her confidence around money?
That's a great question. No, I don't. I think where I'm trying to she's very conservative with her money. So she definitely is a saver, which I think is great for a teenager. Okay, that's a good starting point. But I think right now our focus is more on that value that because she's trying to decide, what do I want to major in? Like, what do I want my career to be? I'm trying to decide schools based on what programs they have. And, so just really trying to help her zero in on her value. And then I think the money conversation kind of comes after. So I think she's still, and she's a busy girl. So she's been very busy throughout high school and hasn't had a job. Her job has been sports in school and she's crushed it. But I feel like great job. You've done well with what you've been given.
Sure.
So now I think the next level of responsibility will be, for her to manage her own finances. That my parents did give me that gift in college to manage my own finances. They gave me what money I needed or the scholarship, all of that. And then they said, you get to manage it. And so I learned QuickBooks when I was 18. So that was good. That was one like empowering thing. So Haven will do that. And Cade, my son's doing that too.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, and I think you're providing such an example for her with taking control of your financials and doing things differently than she may have seen you do them.
Oh, for sure. She's seeing me invest in myself. And I think that's like the thing I'm most proud of is I didn't have the confidence to do that. I didn't know. I hadn't recognized what my value was and that the value actually translated into money, and that can be like a beautiful, healthy, flowing relationship.
There's a really great book that one of my best friends recommended to me, and it talks about with kids how you want to teach them the value of contribution and earning an allowance and all of that. But it's more important to teach them how to provide value to the family.
Yes.
Are you familiar with this book? I forgot what it's called. I'll drop it in show notes. I will find out.
I feel that totally.
Well, it's because it talks about like doing chores. That's part of being in the family. If you want something, provide a value. And
totally.
They can come up with their own chore and say, hey, I really want to do X.
Contribute in this way.
Yes. And it's a direct correlation of providing a value gives you a reward instead of it. And it's so great. And I've tried to do that with my kids. My son is more receptive to it than my 6-year-old daughter who has no idea. No. She's like, I would like to wash the dishes. And then she is, washing the floor and the dog and she's playing with bubbles. So we'll get there. But I think it is so important. And especially, I struggle with the conversation around picking a path in life at 18 and figuring out what you want to do because so often it is counterproductive to the life that you want.
Totally.
So I'm having these conversations with the young women around me. I have a niece that she knew right away, I don't enjoy school. I want to work hard. I want to be done. And then I want to immediately, what is driving her is creating a life for herself that she wants to move. She wants to have all these big adventures. Cool. So she went to trade school.
Yeah.
So she's in high school, but she's in a trade school and she's learning how to be a welder. And she's 16 and she's like, I didn't grow up dreaming of being a welder, but what I know is this is going to give me the tools I need.
Yes.
And then I have another niece who lives locally and is like my practice child. I adore them both so much. And it's so much fun to go through like this teenage journey with them. It gives me some practice before my own kids. But she grew up always saying she wanted to go into like broadcasting and she wanted to be in sports. But then she realized through I took them to Italy when they turned 16. And through that trip, they were like, wow, what I'm choosing for the rest of my life is either going to help me do things that are spontaneous and fun or not. And now she has changed her major. She said, I don't want to do that anymore. I love sports, but I'll just be involved and a fan. She wants to go into finance and work with women in wealth. And it's like having those conversations of saying, it's okay to want to do the hard things. I used to think I wanted to be a marine biologist and work at SeaWorld when I was 12 until they told me that you had to dive to the bottom of the pool and scream the entire length of it so your eardrums didn't burst. And I thought, that's not for me.
That sounds like a nightmare.
didn't want to do it every day. So, I mean, it's like having those conversations with the young women and the men
Totally.
in our lives. But as we didn't necessarily have an
That
example,
guidance.
trying to be that example for others
Yes.
is how we change the narrative. So with that being said, who was did you have somebody that was an example for you when it came to money? I don't care if it was a woman or a man, but somebody that you saw, that you identified as successful, that you wanted to learn from, to be around, to emulate, or to do the total opposite and say, I do not want to do what they did.
I think it was definitely more that, and that, which is sad actually, now that I think about it, but that's okay. It's just part of my story. I think the, just being kind of stuck in not having any power around money was something that I realized later on in life that I did not want. And so becoming the exact opposite of that. I mean, and it really was. I think I was not till I was 40 that I was like, oh, I'm going to educate myself. First, I'm going to get emotionally comfortable with it. Then I'm going to get mentally comfortable with it. So, but I knew I couldn't do that until I got emotionally comfortable.
One step at a time.
Yeah, one step at a time. So I did a lot of mindset work around money, and then went into the, there's some complexities there, but I can do it. I can grasp it. I don't have to be an expert. I get to let Michelle be the expert. Thank you, God.
That's right.
But I also can understand it on a, in a broad level, in a broad sense, and know where our investments are. I mean, I loved our last conversation around okay, we've got 6 buckets. These are all the different ways we're putting this money to use. I understand what the buckets are. I mean,
that's it.
That's all I got to know. I don't have to have all the details worked out. But
and getting stuck in the weeds of things, I think, is what scares people, because I believe in the set it and forget it. Let's have a good plan, a good course of action. And if money isn't something that you love, and investing and just talking about different opportunities, then find someone who does.
Yes.
Have that conversation a couple of times a year. And then you can walk away and say, okay, good. Now I can go back to the shop with my girl gang and create and put value into the world and love my life every single day without having to go home and look at QuickBooks. Just because you can do something doesn't mean that you should. I tell clients all the time, just because you have been doing your books, do you love it? Well, don't. Pay somebody to do it. So do something that you love. Buy back that time.
Totally.
And it's a game changer, I think.
It is a game changer. Now, what's so funny is I have someone that does my books, and that's wonderful. But I'm also taking the time. So I don't have to do it every week, every month. But at the end of the year, right now, I'm going back over 2024. I'm looking through all my statements just so I have a grasp on what our big picture, what were our spend? How did we spend? The fact that I'm asking myself what our net profit percentages are and having goals around that with my company, this is huge. I'm a completely different person. I wouldn't have even known what that meant, much less know how to pull levers to make those changes in my business. It's just been a night and day identity shift. So thank you.
And it's been my absolute pleasure. But it's so much fun because, and there's no reason now. We have a mutual friend, Delana, tells this story about how her husband used to say something about EBITDA, and she never knew what that stood for, and she thought it was like a girl at the office until she Googled it. But it's one of those things Google. Yeah. There's no stupid questions with Google. There's no stupid questions anywhere. And I think that that's where this movement with women in wealth and building this community is what kind of good conversations can be had when you realize that so many women have the same questions.
Yes.
But man, do we have so many great resources that we would never know about until we start having the conversations.
I have no clue. I would have had no clue. That's not my world. No. I need someone in that world to tell me.
Or to have a great friend that is doing great things and to say what are you doing?
Yes.
What are some things that you're investing in?
Yes.
Why aren't we talking about those things?
Totally.
So I think, having the basic conversations, how much do you spend every month on food and fun? Am I blowing this? Or am I
Totally.
not having enough fun? I mean, I think it's really just so much around mindset, community, asking the questions, building your confidence, and personifying money and making it someone fun. I will never get that out of my mind. I know. And what an evolution.
Oh,
the
yeah.
devil, your dog, and now Katy Perry. And maybe it will change again.
I think it will, because our expressions are free to change. And that's so lovely. Yeah.
So for everyone listening,
Yes.
where do we find more of you?
Oh my goodness. So if you love a good before and after, if you love a transformation, then come to our Instagram, because we share all of the things that people bring in, then all of the things, what we turned it into. And I think that's been really fun to kind of show the process. I'm getting better at sharing the full story so that people can understand, okay, this is the evolution of a piece of jewelry. And that's so fun. Then we've got DoraMaeJewelry.com. We love just go and book an appointment to come in and dream together.
Play.
So it's really the first 2 weeks of any transformation is playtime. So it's no pressure, free to create. And then the other place you can find me is on Being Creative. And that's probably my soul on the side passion of really helping people access their unique creative gifts in the truest form and in the truest sense, and then knowing how to make those inner knowings come to life on the outside.
Do you think everybody is a creative, or do you think some people, how some people identify as creative or not? Do you think we all have a bit of that?
Yeah, I would say not everyone's artistic, but everyone's creative. I think those are just very different things that usually get put in the same pot, but they're very different. And so just exploring creativity outside of art is a very worthwhile endeavor, because you realize it applies to 100% of humans. So whether you're in strategy, I would say I would never want my financial advisor not to be creative. Why? You don't want anyone in your life who's doing anything for you not to own their creativity. So how are you owning it? Well, you do, because you've managed to put an amazing portfolio together for me that is unique to me and my own. You're not putting me into some cookie cutter box. Lots of financial people do that. We've all experienced that. You don't want one of those people. So fire them and hire Michelle. Or learn from your, truly though, this is such worthy curriculum that is life-changing, because you are creating something new around money.
I love it. Well, thank you for brightening our day so much. It's such an honor and a pleasure to watch the evolution of you and what you've done. And I just think that, you deserve all the credit in the world for the rest of us. Please continue to follow on with Ansley's journey and help change the way women think and feel about money, one person at a time. As always, please share, rate, review the pod, and let us know if there's any topic that you want to hear about or a guest that you think would be fun. I want this to feel like home. So talk soon.